every time I start recording, it's just the gayest music comes, like Lisa Loeb or Fiona Apple or Tori Amos. It's like, where's the Metallica or the Megadeth or the Guns N' Roses or something? And it sounds a little bit, I don't know, a little bit more of a rough, brute male, Mr. Hat. Sorry, Natalie Imbruglia, same thing. What can I say? I like chick rocks from the 90s. Click the links, join the channel, support my violent poor Wolf Coffee Patreon. Go to Odysee or BitChute. If you join the channel, you get a shiny icon. I don't know what it does, but it's something. So the terror of the lifeboats that are leaving the sinking ships, SGWs, no lifeboats for them, and they're the douchebags who put holes in the ship. Then the talent took the lifeboats to Comicsgate, Substack, Amazon, Archaven, or various indie Kickstarter pathways. But the SGWs have no lifeboats because they are like human termites, basically. People are looking at them and realizing that they're just not fun to be around. It's like constant landmines. You have to constantly watch your step around them. If you accidentally let slip some wrong think about Soros or the Rothschilds, they will start a whisper campaign to destroy you. Or if you go to a convention with a bunch of, pharmaceuticals and Viagra and lubricants, but you don't send flowers the next day, then they'll start an anonymous website to take you down for going down. The way these adults talk in a first world nation about effing comic books, I say, there's some shit going on in Afghanistan right now, where women are going back to days of servitude. And if I can quote the Quran, 434, you can look up that little passage. And you guys are talking like idiot children about comic books, about other adults in business who need to pay their mortgage, or they've been in comics for 20 years and they haven't been able to buy a home yet. They're still renting. Like, gee, it would be nice to do something you love and make a living. It's funny, the SGWs on Twitter, they get outraged about companies not paying a living wage, and you go, why'd you bring in 70 million people from a second world or third world country who are willing to work for less and sleep 12 to a house? If you bring in more supply, demand drops. You can't pay a living wage if you just brought in 70 million people to undercut that living wage. And then their little NPC brains just go around in circles. It's like the Windows and XP sound or a fax machine just stuttering. It's like they can't quite get there. It's like supply and demand. No, we just need to print more money. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, it's genius. So what's wrong with doing drugs and banging convention girls? Everyone gets a mustache ride. If you let soy girls into your industry, then it will be soy. That would be the sign over my happy comic camp, but in German, something like "Be free of soy Fräuleins." Yes, the only way to save comics is to build a camp where we can de-soy these people. They need to concentrate on not being such giant bleeding pussies. If you're still reading comics, slap yourself. Wake up. Write your own comics. Write your own stories. Comics are so bad, it's better to create your own. Get some paper and a pen and start right now. Create your own characters. Rough sketch them out. Start a YouTube Odysee BitChute channel and just film your exploits. And even if it never goes anywhere, because most comics don't go anywhere, I'm saying it's a better use of your time than reading the cancer that is modern propaganda. It's like, oh, you spent an hour a day reading this thing. You could have spent that hour a day doing your own little, like, simple comics on a social media channel. You never know. If you search Twitter if you want to search it, because if you don't have an account, they're limiting the searches. You have to use Dolphin Zero or Opera in its private mode, and then it will allow you to search. Otherwise, it's behind a filter. Twitter must be trying to get their sub numbers up so that they can charge better advertising rates, because now there's Gab and Getter and Parler and Minds and Telegram that's acting as competition, so they're getting a little funny with letting people search. And of those, Gab is the best because they have the freest speech. The others are what is known as controlled oppositions. It's all neocon Israel first nonsense. It's really freaking cringe. It's a trick that they use to fool the MAGA crowd, the Ben Shapiro normies. They have control of a platform where is vigorous debate is allowed within a controlled parameters, but certain topics are haram. Here's a weird thing they do about CG is, listen, there's going to be istophobic people in every group on Earth. I don't care what group you have. You're going to have people who are going to say things you disagree with. I'm always inclined to believe that it's a function of someone being 50 plus and semi-offline that gets them embroiled in this stuff. But you really don't throw in with istophobes by accident. Well, yes, of course you could, but what if they're not istophobes? What if you're just an idiot who's labeling... I'm not going to name the groups that you would normally be careful not to label by the actions of a few, because it'll be demonetized and I won't get that 50 cents. But you know what I'm talking about. You feel comfortable labeling all groups by the actions of a few, or reduction ad hominem or infinitum. But you do it with CG, because there's going to be a couple of weirdos in every group, man. There's going to be people who in CG who are going to delete their neighbor in a fit of rage. That's going to happen. It's like, oh, well, you better shut down CG because they yeeted their neighbor. They say they delete them and cannibalize them, just like the weirdest crime you could ever imagine. It's like, yeah, that's going to happen. Why? Because loosely, there's over 100,000 people loosely associated with CG. Yeah, there's probably like 10,000 hardcore, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, you wouldn't do that to the Democratic Party, the Republican. Well, they probably would do it to the Republican Party. You get what I'm saying, though? You wouldn't do it to any other group, but you feel comfortable doing it with CG. So someone on this site was going, oh, CG has an official website describing what they do. Oh, yeah, we never heard of it, because CG is not a group, like Antifa's not a group. It's not a hierarchical structure like that. There's hierarchies within this loose association, but no, it's not a group, like it's not incorporated in Delaware. Yes, we're going to follow the rules of mediation in Delaware. This is nonsense. This is nonsense you wouldn't do to anyone else, but because they're vaguely a freer speech group, and you guys are terrified of free speech, it's like, oh, okay, well, we have to label them anything we can while we still have power. Power is slipping through their fingers. Every once in a while, I click on these people making these statements so I can just see who they are, and I can look at their relative social media footprint and power by their ratio. And a lot of these people have been on social media for a very long time with very little to show for it. So Aaron Lopresti has them pressed, my guy. They can't even touch grass, my dude. OMG, like, why do you even care? Go on Twitter, search his name, or Substack, or Comicsgate. They use misspellings, but you can usually find a thread, and then once you're in it, you're in it. There are crazy, evil people in the world, and they're on Twitter. Trump was yeeted, but the Tallywhackers have a official account. Literally, people who teach gay men to fly, not successfully, but they keep trying. Gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared. They whip women or stone them. Quran 4:34. Those people are on Twitter, but Trump isn't. You'll find a bunch of accounts PMSing about people leaving the sinking ship that is the mainstream comic Titanic. It has them worried, and it is fun to watch, even if you don't like comics. Gross. It's a group of SJWs losing power. This one account with like 3,000 followers who does a comic you never heard of says he found out Aaron Lopresti is talking to EVS now, and he is unfollowing him, and also unfollowing anyone who follows Aaron. Someone said, yeah, Aaron is gonna make money. Well, you might as well put a period at the end of that sentence right there and just fuck right off, because you gotta pay the mortgage. He's going to make money, but he's going to trash his reputation. OMG. Yeah, he's going to trash his reputations with the SJWs who run the mainstream. First of all, the people who can make a living in the mainstream is small and getting smaller. If you have fair skin, especially. Jamal Igle said that he's as busy as he's ever been. Gee, Jamal, why do you think that is? You have the right politics and skin color. And it's not, like you thought I was going to say it's just the skin color. No, it's not. It's the politics, too. The politics they work together. You can't have one without the other. If Jamal started to go on Comicsgate channels and talk or get some right-wing viewpoints, then his work would just dry up. The Twitter idiots are openly trying to blacklist anyone associated with EVS. They see no irony in their behavior. We hate the hate group so much that we must destroy anyone associated with it. Even South Park made fun of them. Like, we have to wipe out hate. We're going to kill it. We're going to destroy it. Now here's the fun bit. They're losing power, and Comicsgate, Substack, Amazon, the indies are gaining power. Your reputation in the industry. What industry? If the industry has room for, 1,000 people to make a living in it, and every year it shrinks, and they are anti-white, they hire a purse puppy over Chuck Dixon, then the industry doesn't exist for you. It's like two galaxies receding from each other beyond the speed of light. Then, in a way, the galaxies don't really exist to each other because they can't affect each other. A European Christian or pagan male who's on the right has no place in the industry. You have no reputation to ruin. You aren't welcome there. So these people who are outraged over Aaron and Comicsgate, they have their stuff on Patreon. So like 50 people are tuning in to listen to some Patreon show, or some guy on Twitter for years with only 3,000 followers. He's got some indie comic you've never heard of because it's some purse puppy blonde man bad bullshit. Oh, and of course the guy's simping for OnlyFans. Dear sweet Jesus, if you're simping for... I've made a few videos on this industry on BitChute, but it's not very, very, very politically incorrect. These are the people who want to control comics by threatening you on Twitter. They don't realize that the power is shifting. You can't blacklist someone from a job that they would never get hired for in the first place. There are probably a few people in the mainstream who are working in the mainstream part-time. Say they made $25,000 last year as a part-timer. They may want to run the numbers and start a YouTube channel with Odysee BitChute. If you can make that $25K selling an IP that you own, then it is worth obviously much, much more because it has potential to go somewhere and take you with it. Yeah, you'll be blacklisted. So what? You're also blacklisted from the pro golf tournament. The NBA isn't begging you to play for them either. EVS is building an empire here, and love him or hate him, Comicsgate isn't exactly an arc commanded by the Lord, but it is a lifeboat that is slowly growing. If you're a part-timer in the mainstream, you can look back a few years and you go, oh, okay, I made $67,000 that year. It was a pretty good part-time gig. And then every year it just drops and drops to wherever it is now. You're looking at it like, oh, $17,000. That really is a part-time gig. You may want to look at CG and realize, okay, the first year is going to be just building the channel, but I can probably hit that $25K in the second year doing something on Comicsgate, and you keep increasing it every year, and you own the IP. It's something to think about. I'm not saying Comicsgate is going to throw money at you, but it is growing, and mainstream part-time work is shrinking. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, check my Odysee BitChute, PayPal, Patreon, Coffee, join the channel. Guys, I will see you all next episode.